Metal Jesus here, and I am back again with Reggie. How's it going, guy?
It's going good, brother. Today we're going to do a PlayStation 1 buying guide, so get ready.
That's right. So we're going to cover the hardware as well as 10 games that we think are just perfect for a new collector. Let's take a look. All right, dude, so let's talk about the hardware. We have the original Model 1 right here.
My favorite system of all time, the system that got me back into video games.
Now, one of the great things about the PlayStation 1 is that it's pretty cheap to collect for. You find these everywhere, and you find them cheap.
And the reason why is because the PS2 system, it had backwards compatibility, so we could play all PS1 games, so it made this system pretty much like not worthless. Like, it's one of the most worthless systems, price range wise,
right
out there.
But it's fun to collect for.
It definitely is, and I would advise people to start collecting for it because the games are so cheap. I mean, especially the good ones. Like, you know, the system is $5 to $10 at the most.
But there are some things to look out for if you're at a thrift store or maybe at a garage sale, and that is that they made a ton of different models of these, and they kept revising the hardware a little bit.
Trying to get it right.
So here is the very first model, and this comes not only with the typical PlayStation AV out, which we all know and love today, but it also comes with RCA, the two audio outs, and then also the yellow out.
What do you think people mostly use those for? Do you think they use them at all, really?
Honestly, I'm not really sure why they have this in here other than audiophiles loved the two audio outs because Sony was primarily known for making audio hardware back in the day, and so when they made the original PlayStation, they actually put an excellent audio chip in here, and so a lot of collectors back in the 90s who are buying CDs, this was their preferred way of listening to them.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so this version here actually would hook up to your stereo, and you would have a fantastic audio player. It's so cool.
Nice.
But they got rid of this though.
How pretty fast, I think.
I think so.
I've never seen it.
And that's the thing, is that there's a bunch of different models of this. We're not going to cover all of them, but there's a couple things you want to know. So they got rid of these. They also got rid of the parallel ports here and the serial ports. Now the parallel port was used for
a Game Shark, which I used mine for to help with a couple games that I was struggling with. But it was another good thing about the Game Shark. It was a Game Shark Pro that you could actually like go into games, because back then you couldn't really look at game cinematics like Resident Evil or Mega Man X4, like look at the cartoon scenes. With that Game Shark, you could go to the video scenes automatically and just watch them, which was pretty cool. Like, it was a good device for it.
That's cool.
But I think the Sony seeing that kind of stuff, they didn't like that because it opened up more possibilities for.
Well, and they didn't really use it, and so I think as the revisions went on, it's like they just lost the serial port and also the parallel port.
But it could have been used as an expansion pack too, right? Possibly.
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, that's the thing, is that when they built this, that was very PC-like to add those two things in there. I mean, they could have technically added a printer. Because that's how PCs back in the days would add printers.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but there's a couple things you need to know about this though. So the first couple versions of the PlayStation were notorious with skipping FMVs.
Yeah.
And a lot of it has to do with the way that they built the laser mechanism. They were made of plastic, and so they would wear as time went on. And you mentioned how you would flip it over to get them to play.
I flipped it over just to get my play out of it, because it's kind of sad when you pay $400 for a system and it's not working properly. So as a young teenager, I flipped it upside down. I did whatever I could do to get it to work. So
the other thing is that they were known, at least early on, from overheating.
They actually had fans. They made fans that went under the system for it. Now, the fans were pretty limited because they actually stopped making them because they made the new model systems for it. So I've never seen like too many of the fans out there. So it's probably pretty cool. Yeah,
it's pretty interesting. So we have another model here where you can see in the back they've removed the extra audio and video out of here, but they kept improving them to the point where they made
my favorite version, the PS1 system. Now, this PS1 system, I actually bought it with a monitor, which I thought was pretty cool because I was going to the military at the time, and they were talking about being in the field and stuff like that, like having entertainment. So this was my entertainment. The monitor, really solid. It actually has those ports on the back of this monitor.
Yeah.
Now this is a third-party monitor. It's not the official Sony one, but this one's still pretty good. The system is actually, like, as you can see, is a lot smaller. It's pretty much the same system, but it's just the design is just so much unique. It's smaller. It's quieter.
You can tell they were just refining. And they smaller and better.
Yeah, they really did a good job on the system. I'm still impressed looking at it right now.
Well, I love the fact that Sony keeps revising their hardware. They do this with every system, whether it's the PSP, the PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 3. They always make slimmer versions.
And they did it 3 times with the PS3, which you know, was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that they do that. I mean, you know, at some point, it's like it's going to be like this big, and it's going to be in your pocket, and you attach your keys to it. You know,
it's really awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's a quick overview of the console itself. But it was such a popular console that there's a ton of other stuff for it. So we're going to start with the controllers.
Yeah.
So the very first version of the controller was this. This is the world was introduced to the PlayStation controller. A couple things here. Notice that there's no thumbsticks. So that was not originally part of the design.
And to be honest with you, it's very similar to a Super Nintendo controller.
Oh.
You know, that's one reason why I started like just with the layout of the buttons on the side. I just feel like it's close. That's why I liked it a lot.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so like kind of a natural transition for you, right?
Yeah, very easy.
And then of course you have another variation here.
Yeah, red one, which I don't remember where I found this at, but cool color, I guess.
Oh yeah, totally. But they did eventually do one with thumbsticks.
Yeah, the DualShock.
Yeah.
This is not the first version of the DualShock. They had another one that we don't have, but this one was the defined version of it. And I remember this one came out during the time that Metal Gear Solid had came out, where they were really expanding on the vibration function for it, which was really, really cool.
Well, and also thumbsticks are really useful for 3D games, and so during this transition from 2D games to 3D games and controlling things with an analog stick in 3D space, it just became more natural. And so it was definitely, and they stuck with it. I mean, it was nearly perfect.
Another game I should mention that when they made these sticks, Ape Escape was another game that these analog sticks were really used for. So it was really cool control for it.
So while you're out collecting for controllers, you also need to take into consideration you will need a memory card.
Yeah, and I want to tell you a little quick story about that, because I had got 2 games for my system before I even got it. My mom helped me buy the system. Finally got the system, got home, was so excited to play it, didn't realize I need a memory card, so I played like one of the games, Mega Man X4, all the way to the end.
How many kids have this exact same story?
Yeah, I know, right? And I didn't want to turn the system off because I didn't want to start over again. But
well, if you think about it, coming from the NES, and back when cartridges were the thing, they would have a battery save back up into it. So CDs wouldn't even think of that. It's like, of course, but CDs obviously can't do that, so they need a way to save, and so these are very important.
Very, unless you want to start the game from the beginning every time.
What's also important too about these is that even if you don't play your PS1 games on PS1, but let's say you play them on a PlayStation 2, you still need to use a PlayStation 1 memory card.
Yeah.
So it's always good to have a stack of these around.
Yeah, it really is.
All right, so what else we got?
We got a multi-tap for it. It's not the official multi-tap. I don't know what happened to mine, but this is the knockoff one I had. Pretty cool still, you know. It's not as cool as the first model, because the first model actually slides on the system like a block.
Right, right. But you highlight something here is that again there were so many third-party solutions for the PlayStation 1. It's kind of crazy. Like you'll be out looking at stuff and you'll see something you've never seen before. Some third-party controller or memory cards were really popular. Everything. So. Yes.
Another one, the light gun. The GunCon #1, actually.
Sweet. This thing is awesome.
Time Crisis. What else? Point Blank was another good game for it. Yeah. This was pretty awesome. I didn't get mine until later down the line, but if I had this in the beginning, I would have been playing a lot of cool light gun games, because those were my favorite type games.
Oh yeah, and like you said, I mean, this is just such an awesome arcade experience in your house.
Yeah.
So.
But you definitely have to have a tube TV, or
you do. So one thing to note is that if you're going to be playing light gun games, they do not work on modern HD televisions. You do need an old school CRT, so keep that in mind.
And what else do we have here?
Yeah, you brought these. So okay, I've heard of these. These are the Pocket Station.
Pocket Stations.
What is this?
It's like a VMU, kind of like the Dreamcast. Well, just like the Dreamcast one was. But for some reason, the Sony of Japan didn't want to bring it out to America, but it's compatible with one game in America, which is Final Fantasy VIII.
Oh, really?
Which was a game I was playing pretty crazy.
Sure.
And you could actually unlock, by hooking this to the game, you could actually, with the memory card slot, you could unlock other spells that weren't unlockable by other means except through these systems. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where these would be appealing because, again, it's like when you're not home and you're at school, well, you can still do some sort of gaming, right? That was the idea.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
Because, I mean, at the time, Sony didn't have a portable. So this was it, right?
But, yeah, pretty much. But I think by that time they were in talks about it because they had an idea that they wanted to get into the market somehow. Huh. But another thing is that those are the original Sony mascots on the covers of
these cats.
Yeah, these cats. I forgot their names, but
oh, interesting.
Because Sony has like so many mascots. Other systems don't have that many, but
sure.
Sony has. You don't know who their main mascot. The person was Crash. I don't know who it is now. And another item I got, which was like a Pocket Station, I guess. It's called Pocket Sky. I have no idea what this is, and I got it, and it looks like a Pocket Station. I haven't really opened it and messed with it yet, but maybe somebody else will know what it is. I mean,
wow, interesting. Yeah, it says it's a memory card, but maybe it's got some sort of screen or something like that.
Yeah, something. I don't know.
All right, so that is the hardware. Let's take a look at some games.
Yep.
All right, so we have a stack of 10 games that we think pretty much anybody who's going to be getting into PlayStation 1 collecting should just go out and buy.
Yeah, and games like we usually use are games that kind of define the system. So
yeah, so these are not necessarily hidden gems. They're just, again, it's like, go get them, right?
All right.
So let's start with Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. So, dude, first of all, I think this is one of the best Crash games ever. I think it's, honestly, if I was to say, I think it's like a masterpiece. It's that good.
You know, I hate to say this, but on my first time playing that game, I think it was last night, and I think I played it once when I was younger, but from what I played of it, I couldn't believe I hadn't played it yet. This game is pretty sick. I mean, it's like the platforming in this game and the voice acting and the story is really cool.
I think also too the graphics. I mean, at this point, they knew, this is Naughty Dog, they knew how to make awesome games on the PlayStation 1.
They learned that system.
Yeah, and this showcases that. I mean, it's got so much going on. Personally, I think the platforming is just perfect. It's the best version of the Crash series.
Right.
So, anyways, highly recommended.
Did you like the one-hit kills in that game, or they have checkpoints, but that kind of made me mad a little bit.
Well, I never liked those, but but no, I mean, you're right. I mean, these games have always been tough. Although I feel like this game is easier than the first game.
Yeah,
the first game is really hard for me for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's just that they haven't refined it quite as much. You know,
somebody else said the same thing to me. They said that one was the best one to play.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, another game here. Got this from my buddy Joe. Die Hard Trilogy. This is 3 games in one based off the first 3 Die Hard movies, which I think they have 5 of them now. But.
So let me just say, I haven't played this game, but it's so wild that we have a movie tie-in game.
Yeah.
I mean, who knew, right?
I know, and it's pretty good actually. Yeah. The voice acting is corny because they're like imitations of the actors, so but they're good imitations. They're like corny, funny. Bruce Willis. Yeah. Like, get the hell out of here! Like in the first movie, like.
Oh, okay, trilogy. So it is the first 3 movies. So it's Die Hard, Die Hard 2, and then Die Hard with a Vengeance. Okay.
So the first Die Hard is basically you're rescuing hostages out of a building. You're shooting the bad guys, just rescuing people. That's how that game mainly is, from what I played. The second game is like a rail shooter. Like you're at the airport, which is like the second movie. Is at the airport, and you're shooting the bad guys, trying not to shoot the civilians. Of course, they like getting in the way, but you know. And the third game, which was pretty cool, is basically a car racing game. Like you're trying to race to get the bombs in town in a time limit. Samuel L. Jackson's character is telling you where to turn to get to the bombs in time, and of course people are in your way in the streets. You know, I tried to dodge them, but they're like just in the way, kind of like, you know. So
okay, I just noticed something on the back here. We forgot to mention the mouse. Oh. And this game supports the mouse.
It supports the mouse. I did not know that. That's probably for the first person shooter.
Yeah, game. Probably. I could see where that'd be pretty interesting, huh? Yeah, so we didn't show the mouse. We have it. We just completely forgot it, but that's cool. It supports that.
Yep.
All right, so next up is Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
A
lot of people consider this to be probably the best Castlevania game, or at least up to this point, for sure.
My second favorite Castlevania game is Symphony of the Night. It is really cool because the intro starts you off from the previous game's storyline, which really is actually really cool that the game did that. So that sucks you in like that. Then the game pretty much starts you with a newer character, and you're basically going through this massive castle trying to find, like, trying to get to the last boss. And the story really unfolds going through the game. It's really pretty cool. It's kind of like you would say it kind of feels like a Metroid type game if you play Metroid and stuff like that.
This is one of those games that kind of created that term, though, Metroidvania.
Yeah, and basically wherever you go in the game, because it's massive. Like wherever you've been, you kind of create a map where you're going. So wherever you could always backtrack, know where you went. But in new areas, you're kind of like just building the map, which is cool.
The other thing about this game is that people even today say this has one of the best gaming soundtracks, and so that's, again, it's just a really well-rounded game. So
yeah, definitely. My second favorite Resident Evil game, Resident Evil 2. When this game first came out, I mean, I was bugging my mom to get a ride to the store. I was trying to do whatever I could to get down there to get it. Finally got home and played it. Played it with my cousin, but he didn't want to help me play it because, we were both scared to play through it. And this game was, man, it is massively, like, good and scary.
Now, one of the things that on this one, it says it supports the DualShock analog controller. So, was this one?
They made a version of it after the regular version came out. Oh, okay. It supported the DualShock because DualShock had just come out at the time. So. Is this a director's cut or something? I know there's different versions. No, this is just a DualShock version of that.
Okay.
One. So the DualShock version added an extra extreme mode, I think, to the game, which is pretty cool.
Awesome.
But, yeah.
Huh. Right. Well, I'm going to be shocked. You brought a fighting game.
Yeah. Soulblade.
Which turned into Soul Calibur, right? Later?
Yeah, it's actually really called Soul Edge, but I don't know why they changed the American name to.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe, I don't know. But anyways, very good game. Still playable to this day. I mean, it's a solid fighter. I mean, it's cheap. It's probably like $5-10 at the most, I would think. It's got a lot of good characters in it. The arenas, you can knock people out of the arenas if you're really good. Solid characters, solid music, and story mode. A fighting game with story mode, so that's always a plus to me.
Yeah, that's cool.
Next game, Puzzle Star Sweep. Now, a lot of people don't even know what this game is, but
I had no idea.
It's a puzzle game, but it's a unique puzzle game because it plays like a battle Tetris type deal, but it's different. It's where you have to switch the blocks to match the colors and. It's hard to explain because I haven't played it that much myself, but the game was only $5 and it's really addicting. And it has a versus mode and a story mode and an arcade mode.
That's cool. Never heard of it.
Yeah, it's unheard of. Like one of those last like PlayStation 1 games that came out during the end of its lifetime. Next game is a platform game. Rayman. You have to have this game if you're going to have a PlayStation system.
Okay, so this is the 2D platform Rayman games before they switched over to 3D, which I definitely prefer the 2D ones. So,
yeah.
Okay.
I do too.
Wow. Okay, I haven't played this. This looks awesome, though. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the graphics are really they stand out like really good.
Okay. Cool.
Starts off really easy and then it gets kind of hard.
All right, so here, before you show that one.
Okay.
So we had a challenge, and that is that the PlayStation 1 is known for so many role-playing games, right? And so we're like, dude, we got to have a role-playing game in this video. Which one do you choose? So we ran through all of them, right? Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, Xenogears.
Then we said one at the same time.
Yeah, we did. And actually, I was surprised that you said this one because it's one of my favorites. It's the first RPG I ever played on the PlayStation 1, and that is Chrono Cross.
Yeah.
And I love this game.
Yeah.
It's funny because a lot of people will say, "Oh, Chrono Trigger is better," and that is a really good game. But I really, really love this game.
I like Chrono Cross better than the Chrono Trigger. I mean, a lot of people hate me for saying that, but there's reasons why I like this one better.
For me, I mean, it just starts off right off the bat with the beautiful music that is in this game.
Yeah.
That opening cinematic just sets the stage. I love the battle system in this game. I think it's one of my favorites.
The battle system is so fun. And one thing about the battle system, if things get too tough, no matter what, you can always run away. There's no like you can't run away, which I hate when you try to get away from some bosses.
I know, because they penalize you for sucking. Yeah, it's like, I'm already hurting, and you're going to make it hurt more?
Yeah, let me grind a little bit more, and then I'll come back. Okay.
And this game is massive too, so it's definitely a huge value. So, and you know, not enough people talk about it. So it was awesome that you and I both picked at the same time. It's so funny. All right, so the next one, we had to add these.
Two.
That's right, the Point Blank series, and it's because the Lycan games on the PlayStation 1 are so much fun, so well made, and I love these games.
And you could tell by what they put into these games, really. I played the first two. I didn't play the third one that much, and it's like it's addicting. Like you really want to try to win, and some of the games are like funny because you're trying to save one of the guys from being set on fire, and you're shooting all these items and the time limit and everything. So
lots of humor in that. This is the kind of game where if we have a party at my house and the light gun is set up, we'll put these in over like say Time Crisis. Even though I love Time Crisis, but these people can get into this that aren't even like necessarily gamers. Just because I don't know, it's just something whimsical about them.
Yeah, anybody could play it. Like it looks really fun, and it's just something you could hop into and have fun.
Yeah, those are great games. So the next game, the next two games here, actually, I guess they're our last ones. So you originally had Moto. What was that? Moto Grand Prix.
That's right. It's from the same makers as the next game we're going to bring up.
Right. But where I was like, dude, as awesome as that game is, Gran Turismo. The reason I didn't choose Gran Turismo at first because I never got into it, but I remember all my friends were into this game. I wasn't like into cars back then, so maybe that's why. I mean they're two. I mean this is a simulator, and these games definitely they can try your patience because they're not arcadey, and so they're a very different experience, I think.
Because you're building up your cars and stuff like that, parts, stuff like that.
But I think for me, back when the PlayStation first came out, I had a roommate who had a PS1, and he showed me Gran Turismo, and I was a PC guy, and I was a little bit of a snob. I was like, oh, consoles, right? Dude, Gran Turismo blew me away. I mean, it's hardcore simulator, and it really impressed me at the time.
So tell me this is still playable today?
It is. Okay. It is. Because it's such a well-made game. And the physics, you could probably argue that maybe the physics now are better, in newer versions, and they probably are. But I think the thing is you can go too far with that. And you can like some games are just they're unplayable because they're so hard to control. Like say with a controller. This game is just the right amount of difficulty, plenty of content. I don't know. I just think that they're definitely some of the best driving games on the PS1.
I agree, then. I'm gonna give it a go.
You should definitely check it out. All right, so that is our quick little. Buying guide to the PlayStation 1. Although we did forget one controller. It's the biggest controller of them all. Actually, I think the only thing bigger would be like the Steel Battalion controller on the Xbox One.
Yeah, that's
so dude, what is this? Like,
this is the analog controller, which was used. It's actually used for quite a few games for the system. One game I remember on top of my head right now is Elemental Gearbolt,
which I think is a Lycan game.
It's a Lycan game that you can play this on. So can you imagine like playing that game with both of those controllers?
Dude, this is awesome. So. Now, I guess actually, probably Ace Combat would also.
Ace Combat 2.
Yeah, because it has a little hat here and everything. Wow, it's so interesting.
They took it out. They took out the function for 3 for some reason.
Wow, that's cool. So as you can see, there's an awful lot to collect for when it comes to the PlayStation 1. We've only barely touched on it. Here's the mouse as well, which again, it's like they had a mouse. It's so awesome.
I know, and the mouse is used for a Clock Tower, Point Blank, I'm assuming.
Also, I'm looking over here. Discworld, so some adventure games as well.
Oh, Discworld as well, yeah.
Yeah, so much to collect for with the PlayStation 1. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, but we'd love to know what you guys recommend for new collectors. So, what games do you think they should just go out and get day one? We'd love to know too, because maybe there's some on that we haven't heard of or we don't have in our collection.
Yeah, and another thing, the mouse can't be used for Point Blank. I actually mentioned that earlier now, so just don't want anybody to get confused.
But it's kind of hit and miss. So, and that's the other thing too. On the back of these, it'll tell you right down here below what they support and how much space they use up on the memory card and stuff like that. So, all right, man. Awesome video. Thanks for coming on.
All right,
guys. Thanks for watching my channel. Thanks for subscribing. Take care. Reggie and I have done a bunch of PlayStation 1 videos. So if you are new to collecting for the PlayStation 1, or you're just looking for some hidden gems, or we also cover some PAL games and a bunch of stuff. So definitely check out my channel. I release new videos every single week, so you're gonna want to subscribe. Thanks for watching.